Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with a subscriber video for you. I forget what number we are up to, but essentially I made a quick video for Facebook yesterday which I put up on the Tiny Tom Logan page. Go and check it out if you've not seen it because I do post a lot there. Also, I've been putting some teasers up about these cards on the Tiny Tom Logan Instagram account. Pretty simple, Instagram, Tiny Tom Logan. Go and take a look if you're interested. Anyway, so I posted up some stuff yesterday about the fact that I've got 1080 starting to come in from the vendors now. I've got a single Strix gaming 1080 that is here at the moment. It's just arrived. It's one of the cars that a lot of people are interested in. We've got RGB down the front, RGB down the side. It's got their new cooler on it, which they're shouting about. There's RGB on the back plate. There's a lot of spangliness about this new card, and also for the first time on a Strix we've well, actually no, I apologise, it's not the first time, but we do have triple fans on this one. And I've also got a pair of MSI gaming 1080s in. This has got the new Twin Frozer 6 cooler on it. They've stuck with twin fans on this. There's a plate for the cooling of the memory. They've got a separate plate that's cooling the MOSFETs and the power delivery. We've got a nice back plate on this. There's some more LEDs, or some more lighting I should say, that goes on in the heatsink on this one. Now both of these are going to be getting reviewed fairly rapidly, but we have come to an impasse because I need to change the GPU test rig. I'm still running the 4960X, I believe it is, on the Rampage Black Edition, and it's time for me to swap up. Now the main reason for the change is I need to switch to Windows 10. Now you could say just bang Windows 10 on it, but by the time I've put Windows 10 on it, reinstalled all the games, played through the games again to the same parts, because we always bench them on the exact same parts if they've not got a benchmark. I need to install more games on there as well. I actually need some bigger SSDs in there this time as well, because I've pretty much maxed out all the storage I had in there before. So by the time I've gone to all of that, I might as well just update the kit as well, because we've got new graphics cards and everything that we review going from this point forward is going to be next gen stuff. No matter which brand or vendor or AMD or Nvidia, it's going to be new stuff. So it's a good chance for me to jump forward. So I'm going to stick with X99, and the reason why I'm going to stick with X99 is just so if we do SLI, there is absolutely no possibility of stuff being held back. I have actually been thinking about possibly going with Skylake, and it is still up for debate. I could still go Skylake, but it's going to mean that multiple stuff may end up being on a separate rig, so then you don't have the way that our graphs have worked in the past. That might not work so well. So what we're here to say is X99, if I was to do it, I would use the Strix X99 motherboard. If I went Z170, then I would probably go along the lines with like the Ranger or something like that. So, in and around that type of idea. The reason why you're shouting about the motherboard choices is it's just the choices of the motherboards that I have here. So that's the way I do my test rigs. If I've got kit that I can use, that's the way I work it, because it takes too long to ask vendors at times to be able to get stuff and swap it around. So we're just going to go with it that way. So if we went with the Z170, then I'd just use the 6700K. But if we go X99, which is the way that I'm kind of leaning towards, it would either be the 6900K, which is the 8 core, or we would go with the 6850K, which is the 6 core. Again, I would probably end up favouring the 6850K. It's 6 cores, it's got 40 PCI Express lanes on it. If you've not seen the review, go and take a look at the OC3D channel, because I've done a full review on this, the 8 core and the Big Daddy 10 core as well. But I'd probably end up going with this, 6 core. It's not the cheapest one. There's only a few quid more to pay for it. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but what it would mean is if I did run dual cards, whether it was SLI or Crossfire, they would both be getting 16 times lanes. So then when we do start talking about performance, especially with the new SLI stuff, when we know that we're absolutely not going to be running into any lane issues, then when we start looking at things like high bandwidth SLI bridges and stuff like that, our possible limitations are going to be massively reduced. I know that a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, but 8 times is fine, and you know, that's fair enough. But it's just to make sure that we're absolutely covered. And dual cards is probably the sensible point when we do the overkill stuff and we pack it right out. That's normally only ever for benchmarking scores anyway. So up to 2 cards, it just means that we're absolutely giving them the best possible chance that they've got. So, yes. Help me decide. Do I need to go 2011 or stay 2011 but go with the new X99 chipset rather than X79, which is what we're on at the moment? Or do I take a step down and then go and run Skylake? But obviously, if we take a step down and we run Skylake, then a lot of the things like the 3D Mark tests and physics tests are going to take a big hit because we're not going to have as much CPU grunt. So that's something else to consider there. And this is the reason why when people say, oh, reviewing's really easy, to be honest with you, there's a lot of little niggity-figgity bits that I seem to obsess over, but it's just because I try and make things as fair and put as much thought into things as possible. Might not always be the right choice, but you know, there is that. Now I need to get up because I've got something to show you. Oh, I'm still here, don't worry, I'm going to reappear. So I'm in front now. Now, look. White AIO, yes, this is the 360mm model. I'm going to bring the hose in, hopefully the camera will do its thing. Maybe if I put it in front of my face. There we go, look, that looks better. Right, so we've got red braided hose. Now, essentially, I've got some amazing friends at Asetek. One guy in particular, he knows who he is. He's an absolute legend. Well, one evening after talking to him on Facebook and him moaning that I wasn't going to Computex again and being reminded that it would get paid for if I went, and me having to argue with him saying, but if I go away, there's no one here to do the reviews. And with the amount of work that's gone into the CPU reviews that I've just done, I never could have gone to Computex anyway. We got talking about AIOs. Now these have been custom made for me, and this is the first time that you're going to have seen this red braided hose. Although the way it's been spoken to me, I don't know whether this is going to end up coming out later on. Now a lot of people are going to be getting all excited. Whether you do or you don't, it's completely up to you. I love the fact it's got my logo on the front. I've already had people asking if you can buy these, and sadly not. We've got a few made up. I've got the 360, which I'm going to pop down. We've got two 120s, sorry, two 240s and a 120. So we have this is a 240mm radiator, but it's 40mm thick. And then we have a 240mm radiator that's 27mm thick. And then the last but not least, the baby 120mm radiator that is 27mm thick. Now, essentially it's an RGB pump with that's white, and it's the first time that they've done the white pump housing. Or cold plates a bit underneath, but yeah, white pump housing, that's the word for it, and white radiators. They're gloss white radiators as well. So it was all a bit of a trial and error type thing. These caps took an absolute age to get right, but the pump is RGB, so I'm going to be able to change the logo and all that sort of stuff. They were made by Asetek. So we've got no fears about stuff like that, and it's loosely based or very similar because essentially it's an Asetek design, but this is the NZXT X61 pump, and that's why it's RGB. So I'll be able to change the colouring and all the control with the CAM software, which I've had skinned up in an OC3D thing as well. Now you'd be wondering why. Well, I do a lot of things where I use a lot of AIOs. And to be honest with you, this is just ultra cool. I mean, wouldn't you love to have your logo on something like this? This is proper E-peen, and I love the fact that they did it for me. I really cannot stress enough. I'm absolutely in awe, because when we got talking about it, to be honest with you, I was never expecting the response. I was certainly never expecting to get one of each size either. But what I am going to be doing is my interim rig is coming up. And because I desperately need a new system now, because Orca's starting to show her age and she's starting to have a little few finicky moments like, let me sit down, like every hard-working woman does. And she's, yeah, there's some little warning signs now. She could probably do with a really good strip down clean and all the coolant and everything done anyway. But I'm going to build an interim rig. And I'm going to be using the 360 for the CPU. I'm just waiting for the AIO plates to come out for the 1080s, and then I'm going to pop one of the coolers on on a 1080 as well. I'm hoping the 360. It really depends on the case that I end up shifting into, but we'll see, because there's we've got a couple of choices at the moment. It's either going to be the H440 white and red, the one that I did, because I swapped all the red parts off of a black one and put it on a white one, so I've got my own white and red one, and then I'll make a custom power supply cover and all that sort of stuff. Or Corsair have just announced a white 400C, but they're also going to be producing a white RM1000i as well. Now I know that there's only going to be 100 of those power supplies, but they have promised me one right from the get-go. Now if I don't use the white RM1000 in the interim rig, that's definitely going to be the power supply that I'll end up using in the main event, because the interim rig, essentially the best way I can put it, is a rig that I'm going to put together, do a few cheeky, you know, I won't say mods, but just a few little things so it's not completely standard, very basic stuff, and then that will give me the time and the to be able to get my own, you know, the main event done. So with the main event, that will be the big one where I put a little bit more time into it. And but my kind of like Orca, when I did Orca, she was made, and I used a jigsaw, a drill, a Dremel, and then it was all down to fine little details. And she had a pretty big kind of meaning for me. So to try and replace that is pretty hard anyway. Now I've got some ideas where I'm going to be swinging with the spec. It's almost definitely going to end up with the Rampage 5 Edition 10 in there and a pair of 1080s. If by the time that I get to the point where you know, the rig is just about to go into service and we have any bigger, newer cards come up, then I will jump onto those. But we still don't know any timelines or anything anyway. So anyway, these AIOs will end up being in the interim rig. And depending on the case, depends on whether I use the 360 or go dual 240s, whether I have a 240 and a 120. But anyway, so it's going to be very white and red no matter what happens, which is why at the moment I'm kind of leaning towards the H440. I actually like the fact it's designed to be quiet as well, and with the for argument's sake, the 360mm, I would just have the fans hardly spinning like I do in Orca, and I'd want it to be really quiet. But anyway, I'm looking around at other stuff just to let you know that the Strix X99 gaming review is done. It was actually done before the newer CPUs arrived, so it was tested with the 5960X. There's a few little bits and bobs that I may go back to re-look at some memory things with that, which is where the delay has been, and I just ended up spending so much time on the new CPUs. We have got the X99 Deluxe 2 to do as well. I do know that I have inbound and due maybe within the next week, I'm just waiting to hear that it has left HQ, is the MSI new X99 titanium with the overclock socket. So I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on that as well. And then we have some little bits and bobs that may end up in rush kits and stuff like that. So there's an awful lot coming. I apologise for the the downtime when I was testing all those CPUs, but I was going absolutely crackers with all the different memory that we were trying, and yes, it's been a busy couple of weeks. But once we get over this big bump of graphics cards and motherboards, I'll be able to start putting the shower set into better use and bringing you some different videos. So there's a lot to come. In the comments underneath, or if you want to post on Facebook, or more importantly, if you want to follow the thread on the OC3D forums, we're going to be talking about CPUs and motherboard options. But also, and this is very much something that I will keep an eye on the OC3D forums, is new games for the GPU test rig, because now is the time, big rig change, now is the time that I'm going to bring a lot in, and we do need to find some really CPU intensive games as well that I can start to trickle in to the motherboard testing. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking for some assistance on, because you guys are the ones with all the knowledge, and I'm going to hopefully be able to take some advice from you. So yes, thank you very much. Lots of new stuff coming, very exciting new AIOs. I can still keep looking at these and going, how did that actually happen? I'm totally in awe, and I love Asetek for it. Thank you. But anyway, so I will leave this all with you. Please let me know what you think. I will be back soon. This is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.